hear this?
They can hear the music.
Hey now.
Hey. Hey. What's up, fam?
Vintage House in the house. Thanks for tuning in. I have my Miami Beach jacket on, my sweats from our weekend in Miami.
Kicked it in Miami. I missed them. I saw a little DJ Lady D. She was on fire.
She was on fire. DJ Lady D was in the house. She was booked all over the place. So if you haven't been to the Miami Music Festival in all these years, believe it or not, I haven't gone. Actually, I did go 1 year, but I was sort of on the outskirts of it when I DJed 2 years ago. Anyway, I was in the mix of it. It was really cool. And I highly recommend it. Y'all should go check out the music festival in Miami, Ultra, all of the festivals that happen around this time of the year. It's just such a scene, isn't it, Lauren?
It was so amazing. Music everywhere. Miami's already on fire, but to hear house music just as the Uber is going down the street in Wynwood, Miami Beach, it is super hot. It's worth going to. Now, I will say that we do have to really maybe understand how it was Winter Music Festival.
Yes.
Then it was Ultra Music Festival, and then Miami has overtaken all of it with Miami Music Week.
Yes.
So it sort of loses something when it's not sort of organically done, but Miami's on fire. Miami's killing it.
Yeah.
Miami's killing it.
I had a good time. I took my wife, and she's not into this house music scene. But she really enjoyed it. You know, we had a great time. It was storming. It was like...
Yeah, you were at the rain. I knew I wasn't going to do the rain.
Yeah, oh man, it was great. The Chosen Few party was off the chain.
Was that really nice too?
It was great. And the weather didn't deter folks. I mean, I shouldn't say that. It dampened the spirit a little bit. But for the folks who showed up, you know, I got a chance to meet Kenny Dope, Masters of Work, Barbara Tucker.
Okay.
You know, just hanging out. You know, we had a great time. So anyway, Miami's the place to be. If we didn't do it this year, do it next year.
Are we on the light? On the radio.
Well, we're talking to our Facebook audience.
Okay, hey Facebook audience. We can talk to them too. We'll just turn this down a little bit.
Yes, okay. We are back to talk about 40 years of house music. So if you are just tuning in, this is the Vintage House Show. I'm DJ Lori Branch, and I'm here with Lowry.
What's up, everybody? What's up?
Mic around here somewhere.
WNUR fam. I think, I think I'm on M2 there. So,
yes,
hey, thanks for joining us today. This is the beginning of April. Spring is here.
It is. No, it's not.
Spring was here last month.
Spring is not here.
But it's like, it snowed today in Chicago, guys, but that's a Chicago day for you. It might be a little slippery on the way back, but we're ready though. I mean, I feel like
ready. I'm sort of ready.
That Miami thing was like so beautifully
Miami
warm.
Was a big ass tease.
Yeah,
I was down there in shorts and flip flops at the pool, and I came back to Chicago and it was 33 degrees. Everybody was rushing to get on the plane. We're at the airport in Miami,
right?
And everybody's like rushing to get on first. And the guy at the podium was like, "It's 30 degrees in Chicago. Why are y'all rushing?"
Exactly. Like, relax.
I said, I feel exactly the same way. Right. I am a lifelong Chicagoan, and I've never gotten used to the winters.
The winter is rough. No, I definitely hate the winters here, and I hate to say this, but you know, I don't have that kind of love for Chicago. Yeah. Miami presents itself even in the condition it's in politically. Yeah. I'm there, you know, so like I'm all about some heat, some sun, some beach.
Yes. So next year we're gonna do it. We're gonna make it. Next year, promise you, whoever's watching now and whoever tunes in, hey, why don't we make a party? Let's do Chicago and Miami next year.
Let's go.
Like, anybody interested? Aisha Mays, I see you
Aisha,
watching.
How are
What's
you?
up?
Hey, Alan King. What's happening?
You know, we'll call you out if you're watching, but thank you for joining us even for a second. Alan was throwing down in Miami. I got a chance to hang out with them a little bit.
I'm so happy really you went to the Chosen Few events.
Yeah, it was a cool indoor-outdoor space, and I think the clouds parted just long enough for us to have a good party.
That's
What's
nice.
up, Alan? You were jamming as always. And yeah, so we'll be back next year. But what we're going to talk about tonight is 40 years of house music. Maurice Joshua posted something. Was it Maurice or was it Dion? Somebody was not feeling like the spirit around this. Mm-hmm. Forgive me if I messed up the names, but I will say that the tone was, are we celebrating 40 years? Are we talking about 40 years? We're not seeing a lot of hype around that. So what's happening with 40 years of house music? First of all, for those of you who are listening, let's describe what 40 years of house music means to our radio and podcast audience, just in case they don't know.
Well, I'll just boil it down the the fact that it is a celebration of house music,
Yes.
but it is also a celebration, probably specifically about Jesse Saunders's pressing
Okay.
of On and On in 1984. And
Okay.
we think that's a milestone. I mean, we don't think that's
It
a
is.
negative. We think that's an absolute milestone of the music form. Pressing it on vinyl,
And when did
pressing
that
house
happen?
music on vinyl
In January 1984.
I think
somewhere around
he
there?
told us January 1984. I think, right, we tried
Yeah.
to celebrate the exact date
Yeah,
by rebroadcasting a Jesse Saunders
Mm-hmm.
takeover of the
Yes.
Vintage House. So please listen, go back to our YouTube page
Yes.
and all the other things to take a look at that. But we really want to celebrate house music. We want to celebrate Jesse, which
Yeah.
we think is important.
But there were
as
other
well.
releases also in 1984 as
Right.
well.
And I think we want to incorporate all of that
Yes.
into that, because a lot of people did a lot of great things. Chippy,
And Vince
you know,
Lawrence
yeah,
was a part of that release of
that
On and
pressing as well.
On. Chippy, who I got a chance to hang out with just yesterday.
Oh, nice.
We're going to be doing some fun stuff together.
Cool.
I will say this for those of you who are listening who are wondering, what's happening around 40 years of house music. It's cold and it's Chicago, so it may not feel as hype just yet. But wait till the summer.
Exactly.
It's gonna explode.
Things don't jump off until summertime in Chicago. We're not celebrating in the snow, okay? Like, it's just cold. Okay, we're just not gonna do it. But summertime, I feel like, I think, in all honesty, the 50 years of hip hop got a lot of play. And I think people were planning that for 2 years before that. And sometimes Chicago, we need to get ourselves together.
I think so.
We need to celebrate ourselves in a unique way. We can't start that in January until we're going to have these big celebrations and expect everyone to jump in and chime in. But I do think that some great things are happening.
That's right.
Some great things are happening.
Let's talk about it.
So, number one, we're going to start with the great thing that we're doing, that we're contributing to this fantastic celebration.
Yes.
And I think we were blessed to be partnered with the Navy Pier, and our partners at the Design Museum of Chicago.
Yep.
We are going to be representing an expanded version of our exhibition, Chicago Home of House.
Home of House.
And so we're putting together a wonderful timeline of the best things, the greatest things that contributed to the continuation of this music form. And we'll also sort of highlighting some specific moments in house music, also beginning with one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life, Terry Hunter putting together 100 of the architects of house music.
Yeah, it's called the most influential house music architects, and it's for a period. So it doesn't capture everybody up to date, but he was really smart to say, let's look at a 20-year span. Sort of the foundation of it, sort of what birthed this, what birthed that, who were the DJs, who were the promoters, who were the producers. And, he has that iconic, it's sort of like a day in the life of, like that jazz photo in A Day in Harlem.
Yes, exactly.
It's like our version of that.
Exactly.
From 1975 to 1995. And that picture was prominently featured in the exhibit that was at the Cultural Center that Rob McKay was really one of the central curators for back several years ago. And so we have worked with Rob to evolve that exhibit. It's taken all the way out to 2023. My kid says things like the 1900s, and it really makes me feel old when someone goes, is that back in the 1900s?
Man, that's very serious, though. We are there.
Yes,
there.
we are there. Anyway, but it's going to be, we have the timeline. Yeah. And I want to say this because the exhibit will open May 1st.
May the 1st.
Sherry's going to be there to help us sort of break the bottle on it. And like any story around house music, yes, thank you. It does not tell the entire story. It tells highlights from that story. And those highlights are curated from the people who tell the story. And we did our best to really try to capture what some of those high moments were in every single year, right?
And the key is it's a living exhibit. We
Yes.
want people to contribute to that. You'll have places where you can say, what do you think should be added to this timeline?
Yes.
We want to grow this timeline. We want everyone to be involved in this. We're going to have a wonderful discussion podcast, live podcast.
Yes.
Hopefully with VON.TV. VON TV will be there as well. And we're going to do a live podcast talking to Terry about why he decided this was important.
Why did he decide?
Because I don't know if we've gotten the full story on why he decided to put this together at the shrine.
May he rest in peace. Who were those 100 people?
Yeah, and who are those 100 people?
Yes.
We've interviewed quite a few of those pioneers, some sort of unheralded in the past. Lionel Brazil.
Yeah.
The guy I can't remember that guy's name you interviewed some time
ago. We interviewed several people.
There's so many people on that list. Not just Jeff Pazin.
And what's funny was that he came into the studio and he's like, I don't think of myself as a house music DJ. And I think that's really okay because the architects of this genre or of this movement, of this culture, came from all walks of life.
Exactly.
And so the same kids who were going out to, the power plant or the music box or the playground were also going to punk clubs. They were going to, now that I'm blanking on all those names, but many of these other clubs that we would go to, they were shopping at Wax Tracks on Lincoln. And so people's musical experiences were vast. We weren't just like, we were listening to house music. House music was an umbrella that really included a lot of things other than just this kind of like tour to the floor stuff that we tend to think of.
And we've talked to people like Lionel Brazil, who was sort of early on hiring Wayne Williams to do his parties back in the day. It wasn't house music. He was playing disco. He was playing funk. He was playing these different things. But that experience made these people the DJs that they are.
Can I make people respond to this? Okay, so I have a question for you. Okay, we like to sort of split hairs around what's house music and what's not house music.
Okay.
That is a debate. It is an esoteric debate primarily among Chicago people, because the rest of the world doesn't give a shit. But maybe they might give a little bit, but most of them just like good music. Am I right, Lauren?
People want to kick it. People want to dance, man, and house music allows
that. So
let's
have the esoteric debate. Which is, okay, here's my question. For those of you who say your love is not house music, and there's a few of you out there who have said this to me, because your love, Jamie Principle
with Frankie Knuckles, your love.
Jose Gomez, who introduced the Jamie Principle, did the remix. Adrian Jett, who sang background and lead.
Wow.
I'm giving everybody credit because there were a lot of things that went into that production.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite songs.
I love Jamie Principle, as you know.
Well, I know you do. and I loved Adrian Jett. She was a great singer, and she doesn't get credit. She's not even on the record,
Oh, wow.
But she was the one who sang the first version, and you often hear her voice in the background, especially in the good parts. But they both are excellent singers. Jamie gets all the credit for that.
Yes.
However, here's my question, okay? For those of you who don't say that your love was part of the house music genre, people like to say it was part of the culture, but not the genre. Okay, I'm getting there. I'm sorry. That song was released on tapes and reel to reel in 82. 80. It was 82 because it was at the power plant where Frankie played it first. So that was 1982. After the warehouse closed, it was whatever. But then it was re-released. It was released officially as a record in 87, 86, 87. Correct me if I'm wrong. Who out there who knows? When your love came out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it was released, it was a house music record. Okay, it was firmly established that record belonged to the canon of house music. So if it's the same record, that was a wax replica of what was on the tape.
Hey, Kevin.
And the reel to reel. How was it not house then, and then it became house when it became a record? So wouldn't that have made it a house record, even though it officially came out or unofficially came out in 1982?
So I mean, I have to go back to like the origins of these people. I mean, we know that.
Thank you, Alan. He said house music.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm like, Jamie Principle is house music. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I mean, was he doing like funk and R&B records that came out? No, he was doing house music records.
People have argued this point that On and On was not a house music record. And the reason they argue that is because we have this line in the sand when the first records from Chicago were produced.
Okay.
And that's 1984. I don't dispute that. I think that that's legit. It's correct. That's why we have a 40-year anniversary. All I'm saying is there were songs before 1984
True.
that are considered house music.
Absolutely.
Because and I think that is one. Wayne, we had this conversation, Wayne and I, sort of over text, that there were other songs that had that same trajectory, that they were out on tape, they were on reel to reel. When people started making wax, they put them on records, and then they belonged to the house music canon.
Right. So Dwayne Wood says because we didn't call it house music in 1982, we didn't call it house music, but
Dwayne, but there's still some purists who are saying because it was before 84,
it wasn't house.
That it was not released, it wasn't house. What I'm saying is, how did it become house when it was officially released, and it's the same track that was from 1982?
Right. Well, I think we have to look back at sort of all of sort of Black music and what we call these different forms. I mean, at what point was it called disco? You know what I mean? It was like someone made a song where like it's no longer funk or something. It's no longer this. This is disco. I mean, it was still the formation of that doesn't mean that it wasn't that now that we've named it. You know what I mean? In 1980, you know what I mean? So
that's any genre.
It was still that
rock and roll. There wasn't a song that said, "I'm rock and roll. I'm rock and roll."
Right? Exactly.
Hey, there's a new genre because of this one song.
Exactly.
No, it's a collection of songs that have a similar attributes.
Right. And then someone gives it a name
and name it.
And someone gives it a name. We no one's going back and said who named it jazz? I mean,
but I think here's how house is a little bit different.
Okay.
Because the word house music, from what I understand, from what I experienced as a DJ in the early 80s, and from what people have told me, and memories are fuzzy, but there was a record store, Imports, etc., that had a house music section that was initially warehouse, songs they played at the warehouse. I remember that. I was one of those. What's this song they played at the warehouse? Eventually, they created a section.
Right.
Talk to the people at Imports if you want to dispute this. They're still around. Chippy's one of them. Derek Carter. There's a lot of folks who work there.
Yeah.
Anyway, they had a house music section, a warehouse music section. They shortened it because warehouse was closed, so you can't keep calling it the warehouse. Other people were calling other stuff warehousing it, whatever.
Right.
So that term, dispute it if you want, that term was out before the genre was canonized, was officially labeled.
Exactly.
So we have that fact that the term was in existence. Whatever it meant for whomever it meant, the term was in existence.
Right.
So then the question was, when did the genre, when was the actual canon, the music that was made to be house music, to be put into that section, when did that happen?
Well, folks are saying a few things. It's a bridge. So Preston Shank says it's a bridge between disco and house. You're right. Lori Later House, different mix. Your Love was influenced by Feel Good. He's got more.
Yeah, well, everything. Listen, everything is influenced by something. Yes. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find like a completely pure song that didn't sample something, that wasn't heavily influenced it, especially in that era.
And that everyone was sampling everything.
Yeah,
hip hop was all samples. But, and of course, On was a sample of something else. But we progressed it, and then people created their own music forms.
I will say, Chip has said to me, he was one of those, he was a person who woke up and said, I want to create a house music record.
Yes.
Like he had that in mind when he made It's House.
Right.
That's why he said, it's house.
Yeah.
It's house.
Exactly. Makes sense.
Okay.
Yes.
That was 85, 84, so anyway.
True.
So we're splitting hairs, and like I say, this is an esoteric argument amongst us Chicagoans, but I think it's good for you students out there at Northwestern and around the world, and just students of the music, to understand sort of why we quibble about these things, because facts do matter, and other people will paint your history if you don't paint it first.
And that's why we're
trying to get it right.
This timeline is critical. We're putting these things out here.
Yes.
Like, this is the date that this happened. these are the tracks that were released. These are the people who did certain things, and we're honoring those. But
Yes.
it can grow. We are open to hearing what you all think about this timeline of
Yes.
the history of house music and these 100 architects of house music.
Hmm.
Who's missing from that list? And you're going to see that at this exhibit where we highlight these people. You can
Yes.
always go back to, again, our YouTube, our Twitch, and go back and listen to some of the interviews we've had with some of these pioneers over the years. And their
Yes.
stories are just so compelling.
And some of whom are not here anymore.
Amen.
So, you know,
Amen.
this is the other part of it that's so important.
Yes.
So this is an exhibit for those of you who are just tuning in. This is a Vintage House Show. I'm DJ Lori Branch. That's Lauren Lowry.
What up?
We're talking about 40 years of house music and really the celebration that Chicago is going to have. There's so many great things that are in the works, not only with the Vintage House crew, but with the Chosen Few crew, with Rick Alsay. You know, there's so many folks who are just doing amazing parties, promotions. Vince Lawrence got a whole lot going on that's coming up this summer. We are, I mean, the list is on and on. Just pay, no pun intended. The list goes on and on and on. But there's some cool things happening. So tell us if you're tuning in. Let us know what you're doing so we can help promote it. We really want to make sure there is the DCASE, which is the Department of Cultural Affairs
and Special Events.
You know, one of our fearless friends, David Chavez, you know, who's really trying to make sure he and Frayne Lewis, you know, really trying to make sure that we put Chicago on the map. So we will have Millennium Park. We will have, you know, conferences. We will have so many great things that are happening this summer. I see my girl Aisha Mays. What's up, Aisha? What are you saying? I wish I could see it. I can't.
It moves so fast.
Yes.
She said something about Marshall Jefferson. Love for Marshall Jefferson.
Right.
So happy about him and his tome, his book, which I love when people tell their stories. That's critically important. So happy you did that.
And books are important too. So one of the things that you're going to see that's different about the exhibit this time, and I'm encouraging all of you who are watching, please come down and hang out with us. So we're going to be there. What's up, Alan? We're going to be there May 1st for the opening. But the exhibit is going to run. How long is it going to run, Lauren?
Until the end of October.
Until the end of October.
If not later than that. Yeah. So Alan King says the Chicago House Music Festival announcement is happening tomorrow morning.
Wonderful. See, there we go. We need help. So Chicago House Music Festival is happening tomorrow morning. So it's a big year for everybody.
Right.
We can't wait for the Chosen Few Festival.
But Alan, what's up with the Chosen Few? What are we doing special for the 40th?
You know that he's not going to tell us right now.
No, we got to have some teasers. We need a teaser. We need some great. We need to know some of the little things.
Please give us some teasers. Tell us what's happening.
Yeah, we would love to know more. We know that our friends DJ Momami from the Vintage House Show and DJ Lady D are on the planning team along, I think, with DK. So I think there's some great things happening there. There you go.
Yes, he's smiling. Yeah, you can't. That's okay. Well, listen, we'll keep us in suspense. Suspense is good for us.
No.
Make us wait, and then we'll see what's happening with the Chosen Few Festivals. Always a good time.
It is.
I will certainly be there as a fan, hanging out. We'll be there with the Vintage House crew, interviewing people, you know, as we do every year. One other cool thing that is happening is the ARC Festival. And ARC is a huge festival. It's international. It comes to Chicago. I'm going to be there this year. My first time. I'm really excited by that. Yay! Yes, me and Good Girls. We're going to be doing back to back to back.
That is so
the
nice.
Good Girls DJs. That's me, DJ Lady D, of course, Queen, and then Vita Girl, who's our new one to the bunch. She ain't that new anymore though. We've been doing this for 4 years. She was doing it for a couple of years now, but you know how we are. If you're less than 10 years, you're like a baby.
Yeah, Idris Elba will be there this year. Yeah. I mean, there's some wonderful acts there this year. I think I saw a complaint from someone saying that there needed to be more pioneers. There weren't that many pioneers.
Yeah, you looked at the list. It was a lot.
It was a lot. I mean, that sucker's fire this year. And normally we are there covering that as well, interviewing those artists that are, we work really well with ARC Festival. But this year, I'm just going to be posted up there for 3 days. Green. Hey, Louie, how are you? I'm going to be posted up there for 3 days. I'm just going to be sitting there, just backstage, trying to get every conversation. I mean, that
We're
thing
getting
is so
every
fire.
interview from everybody who shows up.
Exactly.
So if you
On
want to
3
be,
stages, we need the entire crew on point at every
hey,
stage. That's
we're
what's
not
up.
only interviewing the DJs, we're interviewing the people.
Yes.
If you're part of this 40-year anniversary, that's a place to be. Please get on our interview schedule. You know, you don't all have to come to the studio, but we want to hear your voice. Not only the DJs, not only the promoters, we want to hear from the dancers. You know, that's a voice that we don't get often enough. We want to hear from the vocalist. You know, there's so many folks that are part of this beautiful big community. And I really, you know, this 40-year anniversary is important to us. So before we, I want to talk more about that, Alan King.
Yes. So we need to get Idris over to the dark side or from the dark side.
Is Idris?
We need more explanation.
What dark side?
Yeah, I don't know, but he's gonna explain. Especially because every woman on this thing is going to be eagerly trying to figure out.
The dark side of house music continuum?
Every woman wants to be on the same dark side.
The island of love
with him.
The island of love, the pool of understanding. Okay, can we spend a little bit of time talking about the 90s? I know this is a little bit off, but we have a significant portion of our exhibit that focuses on the 90s because so much of Chicago's richness came from the late 80s, the early 90s. There was just kind of a boom of this explosion of creativity.
Sure.
You know, late 80s, we had Joe Smooth coming out with Promised Land in 1987. It went international. You know, you had tracks with Adonis, you know, we had Ron Trent, you know, CeCe Peniston, Steve Hurley, Lil Lewis. So much Chicago stuff came out of that late age. Roy Davis, you know, Jamie Principle again, Marshall Jefferson, of course. You know, so many really cool things that were coming out. Figures Inc. I could go on and on, but it's a period that we don't talk enough about, in my opinion. And it's probably because, you know, we have this selective kind of reverence for some parts of our house music story. Wouldn't you agree?
You know, I think so. And I think because some of those house music this is my thought process.
Yes.
As someone who's listened to these stories and then lived that time. Because I was here at the station from until 1989 or so.
Yes.
And, you know, I was playing, you know, all of the old school folks. And then I started to realize that even my contemporaries here, even my classmates here, were going to London, they were going to Amsterdam, they were going to Berlin, even as early as 1989. Okay. So if they were going, then of course our pioneers were going too.
Yes.
And so who was then left here creating new music? Is that second generation, as I call it?
Well, part of the second generation. I mean, Steve Hurley was big during this period.
That's true, but he was also big overseas.
I know, but
bigger overseas,
he was still
right?
Making it happen. Yeah, I just think here's what my thoughts were, and I'd love to hear your thoughts around the 90s and sort of why don't we have that same kind of reverence? Like there's this kind of like the early mid 80s, and then we kind of like jump to the current, you know. It's like, and there's a lot that happened in between there production wise, and what I mean by this is that I don't hear it out even when I'm partying. You know, there's a few like Dirty 30 songs from that period. You're gonna hear Brighter Days. You know, you may hear Lil Lewis, French Kiss. You know, there's a few things that came out. Marshall Jefferson, you're definitely going to hear, you know, Gotta Have House Music. And what I love about that is that continues to create new audiences.
Right.
I was doing a party for some young people, very young people, like I'm saying early 20s, all different races. And I put that song on and they went crazy.
Wow.
They went crazy. So, you know, it's the gift that keeps on giving, the Chicago sound. And certainly what was happening in that era. But I also wish, you know, that we could do something special around the artists that came out of the 90s. I just don't think they get enough love.
You know, in all honesty, I mean, this is my thought. Again, this is Lauren Lowry's thought, because I think about this a lot too. I really feel like it started to become a little pop. When you talk about CeCe Peniston and I think we all started
Was it less underground?
It was less underground. I think we I think we sort of moved forward. We were still sort of pining for some of that older stuff. And, you know, because once it becomes more pop, then I think we became less invested just a little bit. I think the folks who Glenn Underground and all these other folks who were doing different things, they started doing more production. They started doing all these other things. You and everyone else were moving to New York. and then getting overseas. So I think
Yep.
it, you know, it lost a little bit, but the folks who came in after that and really started moving patent music, bring it to a new level.
Yes.
You know, Future, you know, where acid
And
tracks
Frankie
were
was doing a
these
lot
things.
then too. I mean, that was the era of the whistle song and so many great things. That, I mean, he was in New York. I got to work on one of those tracks,
which is awesome.
I know I got my name on the record with Frankie Knuckles because I edited.
You got to be there. You got to be in the room, girl.
You got to be in the room when it happens, baby, because you never know.
But I do feel like a lot of people started sort of leaving, and I think so it started to take, I think, a different turn. So we still love that music that came out during that time, but we're still sort of pining for that old school. Yes. We're still pining for, you know, all these different things. And you all, the pioneers, were moving on and doing other stuff. Y'all going here and there, and we're still like, where'd everybody go? And who are these new people that we have to learn? You know what I mean? Yeah, who've contributed.
That's a really great point. Like when we talk to the pioneers, everybody, I'm looking at Alan, I'm thinking about Wayne, I'm thinking about Jesse, I'm thinking about Chip. Everybody, Celeste, everybody stepped away for a moment. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Everybody stepped away for a moment. And I think that is part of the artistic process. That there was a lot of energy in the early 80s, mid 80s. And those people who were there to sort of plant those seeds and make those first tracks and, you know, sort of get the ball rolling.
Right.
They spent that energy and then they had to do something else.
I get it.
They've all come back though. You know, that's the beauty of it. Like all the people that I named, you know, including myself, you know, there were several years where I was just like, I work on a production here and there like I did with Frankie, you know, but I was like, I didn't touch a record for like 4 years, you know, other than to play it in my house. Right. You know, I was thinking, I mean, like maybe I'll do production, but then, you know, I got drawn back into it just like everybody else did.
But the times were different too, because you had the AIDS crisis, the drug crisis. So then, you know, the music is a little bit under attack. I mean, Ron Hardy passes in 1992.
You know, you ain't said nothing.
And so you have to pull away to get yourself together. I mean, my friends here at the station trying to, you know, complete school and be in the house music scene started having these issues and these troubles, right? You can't finish school because you're out here till 4 o'clock in the morning.
8 years to get through college. My mom was like, when are you going to stop this disco fever? You know, she didn't curse. She called it disco fever.
She was like, I don't.
And I said, I'm about to get serious right now because I was, you know, going out every night.
It's hard.
And you can't be a DJ.
And drinking, and the drug scene is there. I mean, it's there. It's difficult to.
You couldn't Shazam or listen online. If you wanted to hear music, you had to be in the street.
Yes.
And so we made it a mission as DJs, as club kids, as promoters to be in the street. So we spent several years every night at a different club, learning, absorbing, you know, observing, you know, other DJs, other promoters, and that's what you had to do. That's exhausting. And so part of why I think that people disappeared was because it was tiring. You know, like I was like 23 years old and burnt out. You know, I was like burnt out. I'm like, I'm tired of partying. And so I had to finish school and sort of get my head straight. And then when I had some maturity about myself a few years in, I'm like, let me come back to this with a different mindset. And that's when I was able to land a lot of residencies and, you know, get a lot of traction. That was all quiet because we still didn't have the internet in the 90s.
Exactly.
You know, you did your thing and your people knew about it, but it wasn't like now.
I think people are coming of age in that time. So the 90s, pioneers are really coming of age. You're really becoming business people.
Yes.
You start to understand the music business a little bit more. It's not just creative. It is now a capitalistic endeavor, you know, and so you have to learn a little bit more. You have to get yourself together. I do feel like that when you see, I feel like, again, when everyone starts doing their own thing and learning and figuring out things, we lost a lot of pioneers. So I'm so thankful for the pioneers like you who came, stuck with it, like the chosen few, you know, like who said, hey, you know what, this can be a business. Steve Hurley, like, I am creative enough to do more with this and make this global. And what if you decided, like, you know, I don't want to travel overseas. Like, I don't want to go to these places where these people are playing my music. You could have been like, I just want to stay home. You know, that kind of thing. You could have been fearful of that. So I'm so happy that you all took that chance. But some people, went to the Army, Navy, Marines. We have several stories of people who decided, I can't continue this. I have a kid now.
Or I need to make a living.
Exactly.
Because you think about, you know, it's fine when you're 18 and living at home and somebody's paying your rent. But when you're 25 and you're making $50 a night, spending at some club on Rush Street.
Exactly.
It's not cute anymore. And that was the existence for a lot of house music DJs who were trying to make it. And you had a few, who we all know their names, who sort of rose to great heights and were able to parlay that into an actual living. That's a few. I mean, I think, DJs is like any kind of artistic art form. You're going to find about 2% of the population that can actually support themselves.
Exactly.
And a family, forget it. That's probably like 0.5%. So people had to figure out how to eke out a living and continue to have this artistic outlet where they're continuing to contribute. That's not an easy task.
It's not easy. And then let's also think about the 90s when music clubs are closing.
Yes.
And of course, the city of Chicago is not making it easy for you to sustain a club.
No.
Because people like to attack Black music no matter what the form. That's how I see it.
Nothing.
So if music clubs, because on our timeline, we talk about Medusa's closing.
Yes.
In, what was that, 1990?
Mm-hmm. I'm just moving this closer to you.
That's why I didn't move it.
That's why she didn't move it, because I'm messing stuff up.
It's okay. But, I think the thing is that people...
Medusa's.
Yeah, Medusa's closed. There's a bunch of other places. Well, we know Warehouse closes. We know that Power Plant opens and closes, and so these things, take a toll on, the ability to sustain a music genre or to sustain your ability to do things. Things are opening, but then, now you've got a whole nother set of marketing. You got to do all these different things. The sustainability of these clubs moving forward to me is always a problem. I always feel like if you can't have, and clubs close all the time. Like E2 was this and that and all these other things, right? But, we recognize that these clubs kind of come and go.
And you have to have multiple streams of revenue to support yourself. I mean, I listen, I tease.
Hey, Rob, he was like, great save on the Apple Drop. It's like, I knew you were going to do it. I was like,
women know how to multitask.
We got to do it all.
She did all that and still kept the conversation going. She's like, but the club.
That was easy.
Anyway,
but appreciate that. But the club thing is really, I think about, again, when Kevin McFall, our partner, what up, Kevin?
Yes.
And get better, feel better soon. I think that when you think about the business of house music, the business of any music form, the sustainability is critical. Again, let's think about these genres that have come and gone. There is no disco genre right now. Like no one's creating new disco songs.
It's like a novelty.
Right.
So when someone does a disco night, people are like, "Ooh, it's a disco night," and they put on their bell bottoms and platforms, and they relive a moment they never experienced or whatever they experienced. And so, but it is not. You were completely right. It is not a standing genre that people are continuing to contribute.
And what happens? Studio 54 closes.
Yes.
Then of course people. Then Stonewall, these people, then, you vilify gay people and, so these different, exactly. People. So these things happen that in genres, you know what I'm saying? And so we're lucky.
Genre ending things.
Exactly. And that's why I'm always so thankful of the pioneers moving it forward and the second and third generations for saying, this music is worthwhile. Yes. I'm an artist and I'm going to continue this music. We're going to create several different types of subgenres of this music. We got ghetto house. We got this house. That I appreciate that. And I think that's worthwhile.
Here's what I appreciate it. And for you pioneers, folks out there, Boo, Glenn, Leonard, all the folks who who are part of this movement. We can mention a million names, but you all know who you are. I like that you have faith. What you did was you planted the seed.
Yep.
Or you watered a seed that was planted, or you pruned the bud that came out of the seed. But you all contributed in such a unique way, in such an important way, that you're part of this wonderful, beautiful story. So I'm like, let's stop quibbling. Let's celebrate this 40 years because it is a unique opportunity for us to just spread love throughout the community, throughout the city, throughout the world, and really show the whole world what we're made of as a community, as a spirit of love and generosity and music that you made,
Exactly. It's so important that we honor you, that people like us really attempt to make sure that we have as many facts as possible, as many documented evidence of your creation of this music,
Yes.
so that the world knows.
And and not only your creation, but you have to remember this. As DJs and promoters, we're often behind the scenes. I do try to get in front of the scenes. Like, one of the things that I like to do is when I finish my set, I want to go and dance.
Nice.
Sometimes I want to dance to my set because it's a very different vantage point.
Right.
And I realized for many years I was missing out on that experience that many other people were having, other DJs, and just being able to sort of be in that moment. I tease Celeste Alexander a lot about this because she was such one of my favorite DJs for years, because I got to start when she was one of the first people who started going online with her mixes. And I would close my door in my office and I would just go to town. I was just like, it's so nice being a fan, like just really fanning out on somebody. And like all DJs need to be fanning out on somebody. Like, get off the stage, be a part of this energy. Right, and the reason that I mention that is that your experience as a person who's on the other side, as a person who is a participant, or dancer or purveyor, however you want to describe your experience, that is equally important than the people behind the booth. So that's why we need your eyes on this exhibit. We need your contributions to the stories. And we need your voices. We need to understand like when and where you entered, because that's part of the story too. That's how people describe house. House started when I entered.
Right. Exactly.
I was there in 1949.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't start in 1949, but for you it did. Okay, very good.
The best part about this show for me is that I get to listen to house music and party. Yes. So as you know, I'm back here. I'm dancing. I'm just so excited to be here and just like fanning out to all the music, to all the pioneers' of stories, which are so often very different, so unique, and so impactful. Like how folks got involved in this music form.
And it's so important.
And why they thought it was important to get to the party, open up the club, spend money on the posters that they put up in the middle of the night. Like, all these things are so important to all of us, and we're just so excited.
And we're running out of time. That's a fast hour.
We are out of time.
We're out of time.
We did start a little late. Sorry, guys. Yes, we started like 15 minutes late.
We got 40 years of house music. So every Wednesday, we're going to come back. We're going to feature some part of this story. So if it's not me, you're going to hear from Kevin, or you'll hear from Momami, or Rocky, or Lauren.
Somebody's going to say something.
Crew. We're going to keep it going all summer long. So make sure you run into us. You give us your information. We're dancing over here. You can't hear what we're hearing, but it's good. Listen to the podcast. You hear the mixing.
You hear a little bit of the mixing.
But we love you guys. We will see you. Please come out and support May 1st, Navy Pier. Be there. Be part of the story. Terry's going to help us break the bottle on the exhibit. I don't know if they'll let us actually break a bottle. It might be symbolic.
Maybe some alcohol will be there. Some champagne will be there. We won't be breaking anything.
We will have. If you come, we'll have a treat for you. Okay. Yeah. So we love you guys.
Hey, Lionel Brazil, we were just talking about you.
Thanks for joining us.
Get to Chicago May 1st. You'll see that you'll be celebrated there.
Yes.
That is our goal at all times. Navy Pier. We will start marketing that in a big way April the 15th. And so you'll hear more and more about it. And we look forward to hearing about what the Chicago is doing to celebrate it. And of course, I think they're also celebrating 20 years of Millennium Park at the same time. So they've got a lot of things going on.
That's right. So. And if you are into slow-mo, if you know what slow-mo is, if you don't, hit me up, I'll tell you. I'll be doing a set there last Wednesday every month. It's on North Avenue. So check me out there.
And check out Vocalo.org.
Good girls.
Good girls.
Vocalo.org did a great show, with Nudia, who was the host, and it's just really fun. Anyway, we got a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Keep it check in with us. We'll check in with you, and we will try to keep this house music alive as long as we can. So happy 40th, everybody.
Next week, DJ Momami, Wednesday, 10 o'clock.
And we'll see you May 1st.
May 1st.
Don't forget.
Peace.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.